Chapter 646, We Cannot Retreat 2. Hundreds of bears were already in their berserk transformations to face off against Cale and Round. The sight of the remaining members of ARM all pointing their weapons at Cale and Round. The light surrounding Bear King Cyrus, who was standing in front of them. Cale and Round had to make their way through all of them. However, Cale could not look at them. Blood. He could see that the originally red blood had dried and turned black on the palace floor. But he couldn't smell blood at all. All he could smell was the refreshing scent of the forest. This is not possible, this. Round's voice was shaking slightly. Cale realized that Round was looking at the same thing as him. Soob. MMPH. Ooh. Past the numerous enemies in front of Cale and Round, they could see the cage carriages imprisoning the Dark Elves. However, some of them were completely empty. The Dark Elves who were still in the carriages seemed completely out of it or were anxiously shaking in fear. Boom boom, boom. The drumming continued. The enemies, and then those cage carriages. Behind that were people wearing grey priest robes banging the drums while bleeding out of their noses and mouths. On top of the circular altar they were surrounding. Human. Those are not the sculptures we saw before. The sculptures were already dyed grey and all glowing in different lights. Cale turned towards Cyrus. You didn't start the summoning ritual after being contacted by Dorf. That's right. It was quite difficult finishing the summoning preparations so early in the morning. Cyrus looked somewhat pleased. This small amount of joy was coming from the fact that he would finally be able to pull one over Cale and that the greater good was near. We were going to finish the summoning ritual here in the Endable Kingdom and then proceed with the second summoning ritual at Mount Nex if we succeeded. Smile. The corners of Seiyu's mouth twisted up. Cale Henituse, why do you have such an expression on your face? He looked at Cale as if he found him to be ridiculous. I don't know why you have such an expression while looking at the empty cage carriages and this dried blood. Are you sad looking at the blood of the dead sacrifices? Does it make you angry? No emotions were visible on Cale's face now that the look or urgency was gone. However, Cyrus couldn't help but sneer while looking at Cale's eyes that looked extremely chaotic despite his stoic expression. They weren't even the vampires that sided with you. These dark elves are your enemies who attacked and killed your allies. Shouldn't you be happy that there are less of them now? Your enemies are dead, you bastard. Round channeled his black mana as he was unable to hold back his anger. You trashy Bear King, eek. At that moment, Round saw a large water spear charging toward the Bear King. Cale had launched his ancient power. Bang! The light and water crashed into each other and broke down. The Bear King could see Cale charging toward him through the clashing powers. Bear King Cyrus commented to the leader of the enemies who had taken one of his arms. It's already too late. He then raised his arm. The rest of the bears charged toward Cale at his signal. Boom, boom, boom. Hundreds of berserk bears moving at once shook the ground. The remaining members of ARM spread out to aim for Cale's blind spots at the same time. Wind and water. Cale was using two powers at once. Aren't you overdoing it? The Super Rock asked, but Cale did not answer. No, he didn't have time to answer. The summoning ritual had started long before Cale attacked Mount Nex. If it had already started, he needed to stop them before it was too late. Human, don't overdo it. I will stop them all. Unfortunately, Cyrus appeared in front of Round, and in front of Cale. Kahahaha. I've been waiting for this moment. The enemy of the bears. There were so many enemies that he could not see in front of him. This entire area was full of burning hostility. The bears swung their weapons, their fists, and their legs while looking at this person who was the greatest enemy of the bears under the heavens. Bang, bang, bang. Cale summoned his shield. He then continued to charge forward while riding the wind. The ground started shaking at the same time. You're going to use me as well. Inside the sinkhole where the Endable Kingdom was located, the cliffs crumbled and hundreds of stone spears appeared. Those stone spears all headed toward the altar. Round, I'm already on my way. Round was heading toward the circular altar in between the stone spears. Hundreds of black arrows filled the gaps between the stone spears. The black arrows looked like the night sky as they filled the area, while the stone spears looked like meteorites shooting down to the ground. Round was channeling so much mana at once to do that. He was sweating all over. This is dangerous. The four sculptures were completely dyed grey and giving off an eerie light. In addition, the glass coffins. The four glass coffins with the transforming dead mana, the large amount of liquid inside these coffins that were connected to the sculptures was pretty much gone. Toward the only power he could use, Round shouted toward his mana. Destroy them. Hey, he heard a low chuckle. Do you think that is possible? Round could see an extremely bright light wall appearing around the sculptures like an umbrella. Bang. Stone spears and black arrows pouring down, a light wall receiving the full brunt of the attack. All three were destroyed to pieces. Ugh. Cough. Cyrus coughed and spit up some black blood. Round and Cyrus made eye contact. Cyaru started speaking to the young dragon. You didn't think that you guys are the only ones able to learn and grow, did you? Am I right? The bear who only used to use the light spears could use his light to defend as well now. I am putting my life on the line today. Cyaru had given up on his life and was looking at Round with a dedication only to the greater good. Round felt as if he couldn't breathe for a moment from the weight he felt in Sayu's gaze. Round had never seen an enemy going all out like this before. The young dragon subconsciously turned toward where he expected Cale to be. Human. However, he could not see Cale. Bang, bang, bang. Numerous bears were piled up like a hill, making it impossible for Round to even see Cale's shield. The members of ARM were finding any openings in between the bears to attack as well. Round realized it after seeing this sight. He could move freely because Cale was taking on all of their attacks. Young dragon. Cyaru spoke to Round again. Are you prepared to fight me with the same kind of resolve? The now extremely pale Cyaru looked calm. Round subconsciously clenched his fists. His front paws were shaking. Sayu's eyes clouded over as he looked at the young dragon. His words seemed to have affected the still young and naive dragon as he had expected. Boom boom, boom. The drumming continued. Round saw something and his eyes opened wide. Crack, crack. The grey mouth in the sky was now large enough to cover the entire sinkhole. He could see darkness darker than the abyss in between the lips of the grey mouth. And one more thing. Crayak. Two of the grey sculptures were starting to crack. Continue drumming. Keep praying. We must offer more sacrifices. Go bring more sacrifices. The priests serving the demonic race looked crazed as they shouted while coughing up blood. A black light appeared underneath the altar as well. A teleportation magic circle. The teleportation magic circle was slowly being activated so that it would be ready to use the moment the summoning was complete. Shush. There were some people pulling off the grey robes. These people were black mages. Cyaru commented once Round saw them reveal themselves. You guys aren't the only ones who can use disguises. These are all things we learned from you guys. What do you think? Even Round's clenched front paws were full of sweat. It was at that moment. Round. The moment he heard Cale's voice. Swoosh. There was a large gust of wind. Ugh. The whirlwind was so strong that the bears were sent flying. Cale was standing at the center of the whirlwind. Cale already had black blood in the corners of his mouth after continuously using his ancient powers. Round finally started speaking. Human. Two of the sculptures are cracking. It means that you're already too late. Cyaru cheerily added on. He couldn't help but smirk. Cale Henituse has never experienced such failure. That fact was making him smile. He would have no regrets if he died while doing a lot for the greater good and landing a blow on this bastard. There are only 1 or 2 minutes left now. Cyaru looked at Round and Cale as he added on. No matter what attacks you launch, no matter who you bring over, there is no way you will be able to destroy those sculptures in just 2 minutes. I will put my life on the line. No, all of us will put our lives on the line to stop you. The start of the great story they had been waiting 1,000 years for would start in just 2 minutes. Cyaru felt as if he would cry tears of joy. On the other hand, Round was about to cry for a different reason. It's impossible. Even if they called people over, the summoning would finish while he contacted them. Even if he used his magic, the enemies putting their lives on the line would be able to last at least 1 or 2 minutes.